we're calling our Board of Commissioners meeting to order on August 16th. Invocation today will be Commissioner Antonio Williams with the Pledge of Allegiance from Commissioner Chris Gurley.
Let us pray. Lord Father, we thank you, Lord God, for having each and every one of us here today, Lord God. We know that some of us, some family members are going through some tough times and some haven't made it, Lord God. We ask that you cover those people, those families that are going through some loss of loved ones, Lord God. We ask that you cover our county, Lord God. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Please flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I will entertain a motion for approval of our minutes of July the 19th and August the 2nd.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Discussion and adjustments of our agenda.
Yes, sir. Under new business, we'd like to add number 5, a diversity policy working group, the development of that. Number 6, we would like to discuss our legislative goals for this upcoming year. Number 7, we want to update on the state of emergency for remote meetings, the changes that would affect it. And then add on number 8, which we would be removing number 2 from under the consent agenda, which is a motion to approve the sale of surplus property at 1005 Ivy Street, Goldsboro, jointly owned with the City of Goldsboro, as recommended by the City of Goldsboro, will be discussed under item 8. That's all the changes, sir.
All right. So we'll go to our unfinished business.
We need a motion to approve.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to approve the agenda. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, now we can go to unfinished business.
Yes, sir. Item number 1 is a motion to approve authorizing Mosley Architects to proceed to full construction documents phase for the DSS and Health Department project as recommended by the Facilities Committee. And I think Ryan is here to represent on that item.
Okay.
So as we discussed in the Facilities Committee meeting, we are ready to move to the next phase and work through those documents and build out the list of items we will need with our construction company. And we will move forward with that with your approval after the discussion we had earlier today about some of the items that need to be addressed.
And those are conditional upon the North Carolina Department of Transportation.
Right.
And their decision, is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay. All right, anybody would like to make a motion to approve?
So moved. I'd like to make a motion that we approve authorizing Mosley Architects to proceed to full construction document phase for the DSS HD project as recommended by the Facilities Committee.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Okay, thank you.
And number 2 is a motion to recommend approval of task order number 2 with CDM Smith for commissioning agent services for the Detention Center expansion project as recommended by the Facilities Committee.
And again, this is just them working for us, going through and checking HVAC, plumbing, electrical, all of that, and then obviously with the additional $3,600 adjustment so we can do a blackout test once we are done.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand.
Was that Mr. Gurley that made the
It was.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ryan.
All right, Appointment Committee.
Yes, sir. This comes to you as a motion to appoint Jane Evans Middleton to the Wayne County Public Library Advisory Board as recommended by the Advisory Board.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All right, we're moving now to the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve consent agenda with the exception of item 2, which is removed to new business.
So move.
All right, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, moving right along to new business. Mr. Crump.
Number 1, motion to accept tax collector settlement for calendar year 2021 taxes and prior years. And Alan is here.
Thank you, Mr. Crumpler, and good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
We have a couple of orders of business. This is our annual process of collection, accepting of the previous year's work, and we're going to direct me to do my job for next year as well, so we're going to do that. But before we do that, I want to take just a second and give a great big shout out, thank you to our tax department employees. They do a great job for the number of people we have. They do a very good job, and you'll see the proof I fixed to show you in just a few minutes. So I just want to publicly thank them for the job they do. Also, you'll see another name on the board up here, Ms. Shanika Hall. She's our collection division manager, and she's here with me today. I want to introduce her to y'all, and she is responsible for her and her department for a lot of what you're going to see today. So great job to them, what they did this past year and always.
Right.
Let's see, our report, I got to see so I can see. So Carol, we just click.
Yes, sir.
All right. So this is a requirement of North Carolina Statute 105-373 that requires the tax collector must make a report of settlement for the fiscal year 2021, 2022, and prior years. We do this every year annually after we close out on June 30th. Settlement must be accepted before the tax collector may be charged with the next year's tax levy. And the settlement must also provide a report of diligent efforts to collect unpaid taxes, which we will show you that in just a little bit. This is our billing numbers and collection numbers for the previous fiscal year. As you can see, the total levy was $57.5 million. Of that, by June 30th, we collected $56.6 million, leaving an unpaid balance as of June 30th of $889,925, which gives us a 98.45% collection rate. That is the highest we've ever had. I thought last year was good, but this year's better. So that just proves what I said about the employees, what they've done. Last year was 98.38. We're 98.45. These numbers, you see a little disclaimer on the bottom. These are our numbers from our office. Those will be audited by Dana and her crew. They'll be coming in next month to audit these, and they may change slightly, Allison, as they do sometimes, depending on timing, as she taught me. But that may change slightly, but I don't see a big change happening on that. So I think the 98.45 is a good number. I'll remind the board that is a very important number. Not only is it good for us, the money we collected, but for next year's budgeting, the statutes allow us to budget up to that collection percentage. So that dictates what we can budget for the next year. So as we did this past budget year, we had a 98.38. We'll go to 98.45 next year. So that is a very important number. And you can see also the year-to-date interest collected was $125,000. Any questions on that?
What is your interest charge that you percentage for late?
Very good question. Taxes have to be paid. We bill, they're due September 1st of each year. You have a grace period to January 5th of the following year to pay without any interest or penalties. After January 5th, it's 2% for the first month, and then interest is added monthly for 0.75% every month thereafter until it's paid in full. So it's 2% the first month, 0.75% the rest of the time, and that is statutory, all 100 counties.
That is a lot more than my bank is paying me, that's for sure.
Any more questions?
I mean, I need more money than you. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Okay, these are our prior year's taxes, which we always have some delinquencies out there we're chasing. And actually, that's 2010 through 2020. We have written off some of the back years now. But back, you'll notice that middle column, motor vehicles, that's referring to motor vehicles prior to the new way we collect, which is now through DMV. That's 2013, we started the new way of doing that through DMV. We used to bill everything in our office. So that's some hangover from that, some leftover stuff that was not collected at that time. We're still working when we get a chance, but those are pretty much not collectible. These people are they're transient, they leave, we can't find them, so various reasons. But so outstanding levy for the back years is about $2.5 million. We did collect about $858,000 of that this past year, which left us an outstanding balance of $1.69 million on that. And we also had $168,000 in interest collected on that. One note here on this slide I want to bring to your attention, we'll be coming back sometime this fall. After a bill is more than 10 years old, we can no longer enforce collections, which means we cannot garnish wages, we can't attach bank accounts, we cannot foreclose. So no enforced collections after 10 years. So what we want to probably come in before you to ask is we're going to mark those years 2010, 11, and 12 as uncollectible. And what that does is it sort of cleans our system. We don't wipe them out completely, but it gets them out of our mainstream stuff, so our employees, as they're working delinquencies, they won't accidentally grab those bills by mistake. It just makes it a whole lot easier, more streamlined in our system. We did that on prior year's bill, and I think Allison's ready for us to do it again. So we're going to get those cleaned up sometime this fall. We'll bring that back to you.
Are those real estate taxes?
Part of real estate. Very few are real estate. Most of those back years are vehicle stuff. The old vehicle, way we used to do vehicles, the majority is vehicles. The foreclosure stuff, we have passed Andrew, most of those. If it's something like that, it's properties that are unknown heirs, various stuff like that if it is real estate. Majority are personal property and vehicles. Very few real estate that old. So we've actually, most of those have gone to Andrew. So that's our prior years. Any questions on that? Any more questions? All right, our new vehicle system. I say new, it's old now. It's been here since 2013, but this is going very well. Our net levy was about $8.3 million, which was up from about, I think it was $7.6 million the previous year. You see that 97.21% collected. That's a little misleading because of timing. Most now is pretty much 99.99% collected because, as you know, when you go get to renew your tag, you pay your taxes right then. So it's pretty much you don't pay your taxes, you don't get your renewal. So there's a little bit of lag time on those. There are some, if you get a new vehicle, they do give you a little grace period there to pay those taxes on a new vehicle. So it's like a 30-day grace period. So sometimes that is why we have a little bit of difference on our collection percentage. But that's working very well. Excellent job to the legislature when they passed that bill. It's been a very, very good plus for our collection percentages in the county.
What does the state charge to collect it for us?
It's actually DMV, which is the state level. It's various charges, Mr. Ncacc. I'd have to, Allison, do you know right off the top of your head? There's different charges for different processes.
I was going to say they hit various line items. There's credit and debit card fees. There's
Processing fees, mailing fees.
LPA fees. So it's a host of them. We could get that
We can get you
information.
a copy of the annual. They remit the money to us monthly and has a breakdown of all the percentages on there, what they deduct from that. But again, that is a statewide law now. We don't have a choice. We do have to go with what they give us on
Is
that.
that like $230,000 worth?
Oh, it's probably, yes.
Which says
probably
gross
so.
levy and net levy collected. Is that where the difference
No,
is?
no.
Oh.
That's just outstanding bills. At the time of June 30th, that was outstanding bills at the time. But you see there is interest collected on that as well. So if they do not pay timely, then there is interest out of those bills because some people do omit, forget, various reasons to renew their tags. And so we do collect $65,000 of interest in that as well. We do collect for all the municipalities. It kind of flows through the finance office, and Allison and her team distribute those funds to the municipalities and fire departments.
Okay, I got another question for
Okay.
you. A gentleman has a pickup truck. He gets his renewal, which indicates undoubtedly not only his tag needs to be renewed, but also his taxes need to be paid on that truck.
Correct.
Correct. Prior to him renewing, it's totaled. Is he still obligated? One, he's not going to renew the tag on a total truck.
Correct.
So therefore, not only is that not going to be paid, but also your taxes are not going to be paid. Is he still obligated for that tax?
No, sir. When they send that it's the invitation to renew. It's not a bill yet, it's the invitation to renew.
Right.
If you still have that vehicle and you want to renew that tag, and you need to renew that tag, you go to DMV, and they create the bill and they bill it to you.
Okay.
Anything prior to that, you do not do anything with that. So what he would need to do in that case is turn his tag in at DMV, or unless he's going to put it on another vehicle, turn the tag in, and then he would do nothing with that invitation to renew.
But would that bill for the taxes not show up as
No, sir.
uncollected?
No, sir.
It would not.
It's not until he walks in. Until you walk in that door and they pull you up on the screen and you pay that. It's not a bill until they create it on the spot. It's the invitation to renew.
But
Now,
if he doesn't turn the tags back in, as an example, how are you going to know that he didn't pay his, where is the unpaid taxes on that vehicle going to show up?
if he doesn't renew those tags, if he doesn't do anything with that, it doesn't show up in the system anymore. DMV will not renew that plate. So it'll be an untagged, and he'll get. If he was still riding around with that tag, he would get a ticket, and he would be sent to DMV to renew that tag.
Sure.
Take that a little step further. Say he didn't total the vehicle. He wrecked it, and it's no longer drivable. He don't want to renew the tag. He's going to keep it for a while. He may work on it, whatever.
Right.
At that point, it becomes back in our ballpark. He would list that the following January as an untagged vehicle, and we bill it in our department at that point in time as personal property. If he still has that sitting in his yard and he still has it. It'll be a minimal value, obviously, with the condition, but we would build that in our office.
I'll try not to ask you anymore.
No, that's fine.
Go ahead.
We're getting information out there. People need to know.
The vehicle administrative cost to us, Mr. Ncacc, to your question, this past fiscal year, around $287,000.
Let me hear that again.
Around $287,000, I'm rounding, but that's what it cost us for that tax and tag system,
If
basically.
you look at the difference in the collection rate and the work that you have to put into it, we're probably coming out ahead.
It's money well
Yes.
spent. We still have to touch it. We still are responsible for valuation. We still have to go in and process those bills on the front end, but everything at the collection part is all them, and it's very money well spent. Yes, sir. You're exactly right. Because back in the day when we did it, it was sort of a backwards system. You would go renew your tag. 3 months later, we would send you a bill. You had no incentive to pay that bill until the next year, whenever they would block you, and the next year, so it's almost a year behind in arrears. So I think we had about a 67% on-time collection rate. By the time the next year rolled around, we might have been up in the 80th percentile. So yes, it's money well spent.
We're basically getting $8.1 million in. Is that right? Or is it 8.3 plus the 287?
It'll be the 8.3 once everything's collected.
Minus the 287 or?
Yes.
Yes,
minus
minus
the
287.
8.1,
Yes,
okay.
yes, sir. Any more questions? All right.
That's pretty much what it is.
And as we mentioned on the first slide about our due diligence, this is our enforced measures that we've taken this past year. As I mentioned, when property taxes do become delinquent, we can do wage garnishments, bank attachments, rent attachments, and ultimately foreclosures. And I do want to commend Andrew and Catherine on the job they do for us. They do an excellent job. And we say foreclosure, we're not here we don't want people's real estate. We don't want to kick people out of their house. We don't want to do that. So Andrew and Catherine do an excellent job. A lot of our foreclosures are people where people passed away, it's left to the family with no will or anything. Nobody wants to take responsibility for the bills. And that's usually what ends up in Andrew's office, that kind of thing. If there are interested parties that want to pay those bills, Andrew will work with them to set up payment plans. He will not automatically foreclose on it if there's somebody interested in saving that property. So that's one thing I want to get across to the public. We're not here, we don't want your real estate, we just want you to pay your bills. And again, Andrew and Catherine do a great job on that. They've done a wonderful thing in our foreclosures. So I want to thank them as well for the job they do. So any questions on this? Okay. That's it for that part of it. I think the next part is you have to direct me to go do this again for this upcoming year. I think we have to do a motion first to accept that settlement, if you do want to accept that. Motion for that, please.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to accept the tax collector's settlement for the calendar year 2021, taxes and prior years. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, item 2 will be a motion to approve an order directing the tax collector to collect the taxes charged in the tax records and receipts for calendar year 2022 and all prior years' outstanding taxes.
So move.
All right, we have a motion. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And then the item 3 is a motion to appoint Alan Lumpkin as tax administrator for 4 additional years.
So moved.
Maybe. I do have my 31 years in here.
But that's a non-negotiable contract, so you got 4 more years.
We'll see. I think Mr. Parker read it for me. He's got my back.
All right, we do have a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All right. We have the 8th vote.
I need to swear him in now.
Let's do. Before he changes his mind.
All right, and if you will, place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, and just state your name when I ask you to.
Okay.
I state your name.
Alan Lumpkin,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as Wayne County Tax Assessor, so help me God. I state your name.
Alan Lumpkin,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will not allow my actions as Wayne County Tax Assessor to be influenced by personal or political friendships or obligations. I state your name.
Alan Lumpkin,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as Wayne County Tax Collector, so help me God. I state your
Alan
name.
Lumpkin,
Do solemnly
Go ahead.
swear that I will not allow my actions as Wayne County Tax Collector to be influenced by personal or political friendships or obligations. I state your name.
Alan Lumpkin,
Do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as Wayne County Tax Administrator, so help me God. I
Alan Lumpkin,
do solemnly swear that I will not allow my actions as Wayne County Tax Administrator to be influenced by personal or political friendships or obligations.
I will.
Perfect.
So is this
Thank
where
you,
we,
sir.
is this where we say 4 more years? 4 more years.
There's a lot of must have been sworn at lately. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
They really do a great job.
They do. They do.
Get sworn in and get sworn at. No, they are awesome. All right, moving on to item number 4. It's a motion to approve the new 5-year contract with Axon as recommended by IT Director Ryan Preble and Sheriff Larry Pierce.
Let's see. Questions?
Give us a little background, if you will, Ryan, on this.
So we've been working for 6 months, well, the second time around. So we were working for a long time, trying to figure out a way to, the main focus when we started this was the tasers. We were at a point where we're end of life on the tasers we have. We've run into some issues, really just cannibalizing parts at this point, trying to get through. So the first priority was to get those tasers replaced. It was 140 tasers. So we got that with Axon, and then we started working with them on body cams, addressing some issues we had with availability. So once we got to that, then we went to them about adding body cams for several different functions within the sheriff's office. And then as a part of that, we're rolling in the in-car cameras that will due to be replaced, where they were part of that old contract. So those will be replaced regardless. We're just rolling it all together into one contract. So everything's covered. It resets. I'll say it resets. It extends our refreshes for equipment for 5 years. So that's kind of where we are. Anything else you can think of? We did.
No, sir.
We did add body cams to that to cover some other departments within the sheriff's office. But other than that, we're just kind of staying the same as we have been with upgrades, obviously.
So the SROs included in this?
Yes,
the
sir. That's
new-
in the additional 46. We have 54 now. We're adding 46 more. And the majority of that is SROs.
But that is the new technology?
The
so
newest
that-
technology, yes,
Right,
sir.
okay.
Absolutely.
And is this a purchase or a lease?
We're purchasing, right. We're just extending over 5 years. It will start in October. I can't remember if that's in there, but it will actually start in
So
October.
Paying for it over 5 years, or is?
Right.
Yeah.
So the contract will actually go into effect in October of this year. If we were signed today, they need 30 to 45 days to get the equipment on hand. And once they've done that, then the contract will go in place. We'll sign and we'll get the equipment. So that's kind of where we are.
What are we doing with the older equipment?
I think the tasers, we're reusing some of those, or no, we're selling them, that's right.
Trade-in. They're giving us an allowance for the old technology. So we're trading most of
So
them.
you are trading it in and getting
Yes,
some
sir.
allowance?
Yes, sir.
So we're getting all new across the board, or is it just,
Tasers across the board.
Across
we are.
the board.
how about the cameras?
Cameras, we're just adding to what we already have. And then the in-car cameras will be replaced as they're supposed to be as part of the current contract in 10 months.
10 months.
I think it's 10 months.
So, and do they correspond between the body cam and the in-car deal?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. They work
Okay.
together. Yes, sir.
How about the taser stuff, is that,
Taser's all integrated with it.
so when
So when you turn your taser on, the camera activates.
camera comes on, okay, yeah.
We also have a sidearm. If you pull your weapon for some reason, the camera activates automatically. Some nice technology.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't get any more state-of-the-art than
Right.
this. It's great.
but it has upgraded the school body cameras to the better,
We'll be all on
VDA.
the same system now.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir, to the latest technology. Yes, sir.
All right, any other questions?
Well, this ain't got nothing to do with our stuff, but in regards to the Wake County deputy, is there any, technology that would be a live, version, not just taped?
On the body cameras, if they're in recording state, in other words, if they're out there recording, we can log, we're going to designate people to log in and view it live.
Okay,
But it notifies the officer that we're watching it, so it ain't a big brother type deal,
Right.
but we can see what's going on.
so there is, okay,
Yeah, that's on the ones we're getting, yes, sir.
So that-
But they have to actually be recording for us to be able to log into it. We just can't log into it at any point.
I mean, I'm just saying, just in a situation as not knowing what really.
There's also, I believe there's GPS built in, if we can locate it as well.
That's
Yes, sir.
info, got it.
On these new cameras, what function does the officer have to turn them off?
It's simple. There's a standby mode that most of the time it's going to be in. So these triggering events can make it record, but there is a function where they can actually turn it off and nothing will activate it. That's where our policies and procedures come into place.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Absolutely.
So you do have a policy in place that's,
Yes,
okay.
Yes, sir.
In regards to the recording, does this contract include any storage of the recordings?
Yeah, it's just an extension of what we currently have with the same company. they'll store it, it's in the cloud. Just an extension and adding more storage because we're adding more cameras. They're just extending that storage to give us more storage.
What is the storage time frame?
It really just depends on how much. So if you get 10 and over the course of 6 months you use 10, you know, I mean, it's not forever. It doesn't keep forever. So it does overwrite eventually at some point, and then they'll come to you and say, hey, your rewrite of that data is increasing. In other words, we're only keeping, for argument's sake, 2 weeks. Do you want to add storage to that? So that becomes an option.
But you have an issue, you can capture that one event
Oh yeah, absolutely.
and upload it to something else, and then you got it for future reference.
And every video is categorized by the officer, whether it be a traffic stop, verbal warning, or drug investigation. And each category is preset on how long it's stored on the system. So accidental recording would go away in a week, it'll purge itself. So there's checks and
Right,
balances on
right.
the storage to keep from being,
Keep from going over it,
Yes.
and because the
Yes.
storage, that cloud costs money. That's
but
what
it's
it-
dependent on the officer to categorize
I
it
got you.
right.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the new 5-year contract with Axon.
I'll make a
So
motion.
move.
Well, we got all kinds of motions.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Chris.
One person raise your hand and make the motion.
And, Freeman,
All right, Freeman has made the motion for approval. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the diversity working group. There's been discussion in regards to our diversity policy. And today I am naming a diversity working group charged with reviewing Wayne County's diversity policy and report back to this board any recommended modifications to our current policy. The working group will include the following. As chair, Commissioner Bevan Foster, Commissioner Chris Gurley, County Manager Chip Crumpler, HR Director Ginger Moore, and Staff Attorney Andrew Neal. And Commissioner Foster, it would be up to you to set your meeting schedule. So we'll leave that up to you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is discussion on our legislative goals for NCACC. As it turns out, the legislative goals this year, they moved this up and are now requesting us to submit any legislative goals to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners by September the 12th. As it turns out, we're not having our meeting between now and then, so we want to discuss those at this time. Most of you have received a copy, probably a copy of where I have made some notations, but at any rate, a copy of the legislative goals that we had in 2020. These legislative goals are being submitted to the legislature in January this year. And the reason for that is it's the long session. And the association wanted to get ahead of those legislative goals and ahead of them actually going into session. The first item that we had there has not been addressed. It would allow local County Board of Commissioners the authority without a voter referendum to levy a new additional quarter-cent sales tax specifically designated for school and community college capital projects. And we all know there's been pushback on that, but I would undoubtedly recommend that we include that in our upcoming goals. Item 2 was a change, the Phase 1 lottery grant funding formula. That has been done, that's been accomplished. That was a major win for low wealth counties, tier 1 and 2 counties. I mean, this is just a major win for Wayne County. Number 3 was seek legislation and funding and other efforts to expand digital infrastructure. And that's been done. It's been done through the Great Grant Program. Unfortunately, Wayne County has not received any Great Grant funding, and we still have underserved households in Wayne County. So, Mr. Crumpler, how would we want to change the wording of that in some way to kind of bring attention to those of us that did not receive great funding?
Seek a change in the definition of what high-speed broadband, what is considered high-speed broadband.
That would take care of it, would it not? So
Yes, sir.
we would want to add in there a change in definition, and can we get some recommendation of what up and down speed?
I can reach out and get a better definition of it. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. 25.3, I think, is the definition of high-speed broadband. I think if we made it 35 or 53, it would change. It would definitely make us, our percentage of coverage lower. But there are some proposals out there like that, and that's what I recommend. And I'll get more definition from Open Broadband or one of the other failed great grants that we applied with.
Are we in agreement that we allow Chip to go ahead and redefine that, and whatever he arrives at will include in our recommended legislative goal?
Yes.
Are we in agreement with that?
Good.
No, any objection? Okay. So you going to take a Chip on that. Let me make a note. Seek additional revenue sources, including a statewide bond referendum, expanded lottery proceeds, to equitably address statewide public school and community college capital challenges. Well, actually, that has been done from the standpoint that they changed their formula. Well, to some extent, it was done.
Yes, the question would be, do you still want to request a statewide bond referendum?
Well, do we? That is the question.
Mr. Bell, at his legislative breakfast the other day, made it clear that he thought that school construction was the job of local government, but historically, that's not always been the case. Schools like Rosewood, Mount Olive, and Goldsboro High School, and these schools were built under state bond referendum in the past.
They have. You're right.
Just throwing that out there.
What's our thoughts? Just throwing it out there. Do we want to continue and request a statewide bond referendum?
All they can do is say no.
Let's leave it. Any objection to leaving it? All right. So scratch that done out there to the side on
That's where most of our
3 and
money's
4.
come from the last little bit anyway. You really think about it. That's where most of our money's come through the last little bit anyway. State funding.
I believe item 5 has been done. Am I correct or am I wrong? I know they addressed a number of those. Mr. Crumpler's still reading.
I'm not sure. I'd have to get some clarification from Kevin.
All right, we will, if there's no objection, we're going to leave it unless Mr. Crumpler finds that that has been accomplished.
Mr. Chairman, can you read that? Because I don't have a copy of that in front of me. Can you read it?
Well, please hand her a copy. There you go. How about that? Item 5, we're going to leave. Item 6, I got a question mark on. Expand state resources to ensure ability of counties to provide essential medical, mental health, and social services to persons incarcerated in local detention facilities. I thought there was some legislation that was passed that would allow our persons incarcerated in our jail to qualify for Medicaid. Am I wrong? Nothing passed?
I don't think there's been anything.
Then if that's the case, remove the question mark and leave.
Yes.
Item 7, support legislation to provide exceptions to the K-3 class size mandate, including but not limited to lack of school facility space and availability of qualified teachers. Was there anything addressed in the legislature on that matter? I mean, several years ago, they had passed the legislation requiring a lower class size in K-3. Is that still in effect?
They didn't, I don't think
Yes, I think the date just got pushed back.
Yeah, they've never implemented the funding source of it. Wayne County did it, that's.
Wayne County did it on their own.
Yeah.
That's what got them in a
I
bind.
think the date to comply with that's been pushed back.
Yeah, I don't think that's,
They did not do away with it.
but it's not, that's actually not. like-
Well, if that's the case, item 7 needs to be left. Item 8 is seek legislation allowing counties to level a local 911 usage fee to supplement existing state funds to ensure adequate funding for next generation technology. The issue I have is years ago, there was a local 911 usage fee. And then the state took that and it all went to the state. And now you've got to apply through the 911 board to get the funding. And they only approve certain projects, but not other projects.
But those fees used to be on cell phones and everything.
Absolutely. In South Carolina, there's a local 911 fee as well as a state 911 fee. So we were asking that there be a levy of a local 911 fee. So are we in agreement to leave that? Is there any objection to our leaving it? All right, we're leaving that. And then, of course, over here in 2020 was continued support for Hurricane Matthew and Florence hurricane recovery. Support the goals of the North Carolina Military Affairs Commission. So I suppose we would have to probably remove this Hurricane Matthew and Florence hurricane recovery.
I would not.
Why,
You would not?
no, definitely not.
We're still on going.
Definitely not. All right, we're leaving that. Over the objection
I was waiting for that
of
one.
Commissioner Hardison. And support the goals of the North Carolina Military Affairs
Those
Commission.
all apply,
Yeah,
even the one that's written in down here at the bottom.
yeah.
You can't do that. They don't have the authority to do the handbook. But we've signed a memorandum saying how that money's gonna be spent. Once we ever get the lawyers
You know, that's pretty much it. That's the,
passed.
It's
So we couldn't ask for any additional flexibility on the opioid settlement. It is what it is. There was some discussion at the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners in Concord at that meeting where a county was either attempting or had agreed to use some of their opioid settlement funds for the building of a treatment facility. And as such, individuals that had an opioid dependency, I've got to be careful on the words I pick here, dependency, were given an opportunity to go to that facility versus our jail. And that evidently, I don't know what county it was, but,
In Virginia, those are actually done in Virginia.
oh, it was in Virginia? Okay, it's actually done.
Yeah.
So those were the type of flexibilities that I was speaking of, but it may be that it is allowed already. Our jails are a combination of those that commit infractions, but it also includes individuals that have mental health issues, those that are opioid dependent, and that all of that is being placed on the back of our local taxpayers. And it drains resources dramatically. So any way that we can supplement that and have an option, just similar to day reporting, rather than going into jail and we house and feed them and provide medical services and so forth, if we can keep them out of incarceration, it's better off for the taxpayer.
Well, what that kind of what Judge Heath was kind of alluding to on some of this stuff,
That's what she's trying to get an adult. That was her proposal?
Yeah. But she knew about the Virginia thing before we did.
She knew about it before we did, huh? Well, I think we do need to explore that with Judge Heath or as a county facility, one way or the other. I think we need to explore that. So
Chair.
strike through this legislation to provide more flexibility.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'd like to add something with the consent from the board pertaining to our commuter rail. We've been hearing for decades, Wayne County, getting commuter rail back, but there's not been any movement. I'd like for us to send that to the legislative goals.
So explore commuter rail for Wayne County?
Yes.
Explore commuter rail for Wayne County. Is there any objection to adding that as a legislative goal? Not hearing any.
Is our rail suitable for, can we do, I know at one time we talked about it, you can't run freight and commuter on the same rail or contiguous stuff,
Well, from what I understand, they already have the rails. The rails are there that used to go from Wilmington to Raleigh to Wilmington, and from Wilmington, Goldsboro. So I think they already. It's just they've forgotten to push forward a little bit. So
Yeah, we just asked them to explore it.
Yes, thank you.
All right, any objection to that? If not, then we'll add that to our list. Is there any other suggestions that we add to our legislative goals? It's nice to see that we have got things moving in regards to our oldest schools in Wayne County, in regards to Fremont and Rosewood. But we have other great needs as well. And we do, in fact, have asked for the bond, statewide bond for schools. I don't know how we could have built either one of these schools without the help of the legislator and our legislators. But I'm sure that will run its course. There's only so much that we are going to be able to get from the state, so that's why I think it's a good idea to leave that bond, statewide bond, in there.
Has the school system got a long-range capital improvement plan? I know it's going to change. The more you get, more influx of subdivisions that we get, it might change. But do we know if they've got a?
My understanding is that they had developed one. I have not seen it. So we'll ask Mr. Crumpler to reach out to them and ask them if they'll share that with us.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because all the subdivisions and developments that's going on in the county and the city, there's going to be some schools. If they put that half a child in whatever, we're going to have just on 11th Street itself, I think there's 1,500 multifamily residences going in Goldsboro. Just in Goldsboro, the city of.
It was interesting I attended the legislative breakfast, and it was interesting to hear the comments of Representative Raymond Smith. And he was on the school board, as you recall, and his comment was basically, we really need to look at consolidation because Wayne County student population is decreasing, and we need to look at consolidating some schools. We need to look at redistricting. We need to look at several things here. But Wayne County, if you're going to have less population in your schools, maybe it's time to look at possibly consolidating schools. Can we really afford the upkeep of 33 campuses versus with a declining population? So there are some questions there, and I think that needs to be addressed. And we'll look to the school board to kind of look at those.
Well, what I was just alluding to is just going to be an increase. I mean, a possible increase with all the development coming in.
Overall, the population is going down. However, there is a population increase in certain areas. You're correct. You're correct. And that's why it really needs to be looked at. Are there any other recommendation of legislative goals that we submit? Mr. Crumpler, you got any recommendations?
No, sir. I think we covered.
Morton and Andrew, you got any that you might want to?
Don't require the counties to do things that they're not going to fund.
Called unfunded mandates.
Good luck on that one.
We're trying to get them to be on our side, so maybe we better not bring that up. Okay, if there's no other, then we'll move on to our next item. So, Mr. Crumpler, if you can draft all that up and submit that in for us?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Number 7 is an update on the state of emergency regarding remote meetings and any other changes.
Do you mind, sir, if I do it from right here? Is that okay?
Well, as long as everybody can hear you from there.
Hopefully they can. As of yesterday, the state of emergency for COVID that was enacted in May of, or put into place rather, in May of 2020 ended as of 5 p.m. yesterday. And what that means for the Board of Commissioners in terms of meetings is that you could still have a policy if someone was sick and wanted to remotely access the meeting or participate in the meeting, but it's really no longer going to be allowed that you participate. You can listen, but according to the best explanation by Freda Bluestein as well as Christina Wilson, you would not count towards a quorum and you would not be able to vote. So if you were to, and if Andrew wants to dispute any of this, he's certainly far more knowledgeable on the law part of it than I am. Things that you can continue to do, which we do anyway, is stream meetings. We do that for the convenience of our citizens. So that's still permitted. There's really no change in public comments, public hearings. It goes back to the way it was. But you can no longer ban the public from your meetings now that the state of emergency is over. And no more last-minute change notices. So we go back to pre-COVID in terms of open meeting laws, and those are pretty simple and straightforward. And, you know, sometimes there are illnesses or certain situations that require a commissioner to participate remotely, but just keep in mind that now that this is over, you will not count towards a quorum. You will not be allowed to vote.
Let me make sure I'm understanding, and that is with the dropping of the emergency, state of emergency, we must attend in person to participate and vote.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
To vote, you can still participate.
Yes, I apologize. Correct. You can
You can still
participate.
participate.
You can discuss items. You can be part of the discussion, but in terms of the voting process, you will not be counted as part of the quorum, which is necessary to have for a vote to pass and for it to be a legal meeting.
So if we come down to having just 3 people here, you can't have a meeting,
That is correct.
basically.
Mr. Parker, does this also count as WCDA and the health department or their kind of meetings and stuff?
Appointed boards you can still participate and vote remotely.
Okay.
That's the general thought, and I think that is what I believe the law to be.
Well, let me also step that to another issue, and that is the health department as an example, which is requiring masks to be worn. Would that have expired that as well?
Now, the health department can still require masks.
Could any department?
I mean, does it apply to all county and state facilities? I mean, as far as there's more to the executive order other than meeting, correct, or not?
See,
Well, there certainly was more to the state of emergency, but it's rescinded as of 5 p.m. yesterday. So anything related to that no longer applies. Now, my understanding, and Borden, correct me if I'm wrong, the mask mandate is,
That's CDC.
see, thank you, that's what I wanted.
Healthcare facilities. That's the basis.
only for healthcare facilities.
Right, just like a doctor's office. If you went to your doctor's office, we'd require a mask.
But health department and DSS fall under that because of their health-related activity.
But as an example, down in the tax office, Alan couldn't mandate masks, could he?
The key would need your permission, but the Register of Deeds mandates masks because she's an elected official.
But if well, what I'm saying is, if in fact you no longer have a state of emergency in effect, I mean, that is the basis in which you are requiring it, unless it's CDC that's requiring healthcare.
I think the CDC stands by itself. It doesn't fall under a state of emergency.
Well, we need some clarification.
If they recommend masks then for healthcare facilities, and that's what those healthcare facilities are going to.
But they're recommending them, but are they requiring them?
Well,
See, you get into touchy questions there. The state of emergency kind of gave it a blanket to kind of overrode just about anything. But all of a sudden, if that's no longer there, then we've got to clarify what is allowed and what isn't. It's hard to imagine that we're having to figure out to go back to normal, what is okay, what's permissible to go back to normal. So anyway, if y'all would do some research on that. Okay, any other questions?
So if somebody gets sick, say if one of our board members is out for, just say cancer treatment, and they don't need to come out in public, because their immune system's down, can this board, can we as a board adopt something to allow them to participate or not?
You may have a policy set by the board that allows a board member to participate remotely, but based on the law, they cannot vote.
Oh, gotcha.
Explain kind of how we've handled it in the past. So our current policy permits the board at the beginning of the meeting to allow remote participation outside of the state of emergency. Traditionally, we've allowed that commissioner to vote, but in terms of counting towards a quorum, legally, that would not happen. But participation and voting, that has occurred, but for the formal vote, that vote isn't generally recognized, if that makes sense.
They allow them to vote, but the
Commissioner
vote is
Pate
not
did it
counted.
several times.
The votes counted, but they're not going to the quorum.
They're not counted towards the quorum. That's how we count that.
No, but that seems a little off because by statute, it's saying that the vote shouldn't count. And then you're also, at the same time, if that member is not counted in the quorum, how can their vote actually be counted? You see what I'm saying?
I think for the formal.
You're not
for the
counted as being
count,
formal
it's
on
not.
the, when Miss Carol does her records, she's not just saying participating remotely. He's not, that person wouldn't even be counted in as a voter
right.
per quorum. You know what I'm saying?
How it's been
So-
done in the past is, so Commissioner Pate, that comes to mind. Other commissioners have done it, but previous Commissioner Pate did it. I think in the minutes, it was reflected that he participated remotely, that he voted yes, but the formal vote was a 6-0 vote. So, I mean, it's kind of semantics, but
Yeah, I mean, I
legally.
understand what you're saying, yeah, but I'm just saying he couldn't have counted that official
But
vote.
I just wanted to make everybody, clear. That's how it's been handled in the past.
As luck would have it, Commissioner Foster, in the past, when we've had a commissioner calling in remotely and the board has allowed that to happen, that vote did not matter. It was a unanimous
Yeah,
vote.
either way,
within the
yes, yes,
quorum.
yes, yes,
So
yes,
it's
yes.
just recorded as unanimous at that point.
But that's what I
Because you're
mean-
showing the one person absent and participating remotely.
Yeah, but then when you say unanimous, I mean, is that still, to me, it's a little sticky because it's like you're saying everybody voted for it when actually one vote didn't count, which I get how it looks on paper and everything, but I don't know. I would like more clarity than making sure because, I mean, there's no need of, violating the policy.
I mean, the way the policy is now, the board could set the conditions of that participation at the beginning of the meeting. So if you had those concerns, then I think the proper thing would be to allow that commissioner to participate, however, they would not vote,
Yes.
and it would not be reflected. I think that's how you would solve it.
Okay. All right. Well, if y'all would just do some research and bring us any clarification that we may need. Okay, anything further?
Number 8, which was item number 2 from the consent agenda, which was the motion to approve the sale of surplus property at 1005 Ivy Street, Goldsboro, NC, which was jointly owned with the city of Goldsboro and as recommended by the city of Goldsboro. And there was concern that the adjoining property owners had not been notified of the sale of the property, that we may want to request the city notify.
Did they have a bid on it?
Yes. They bid on it and it has expired the upset bid process. So they would, if we sent it back to them, they would have to go back through that process. Is that correct? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Could we just go ahead and let this one go through and just have it something worth from in the future? They would have to.
We could do that.
I think the problem you're going to have there is if you allow it this time, they're going to continue to do business as usual.
Exactly.
So I think that, the proper thing would be probably just to not allow it to go through until they let the adjoining owners know that there is this property available. I think that's the right way, so we don't have to go through this process again and again with properties.
Would that be in the form of a motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion?
So when we send it to them from now on, if any property for sale that's jointly owned by the city and the county, they will go through both processes? Is that what I'm understanding?
They will have to offer it to the adjoining property owners.
They have to notify them that it's available.
Sure.
Right, well, that's, okay.
Okay.
Not offer it to them, but notify them.
Notify them that
And they can bid on it.
Oh, yeah.
It would depend on which way it is, they can,
They can bid on it.
Right.
But if they're not interested, they don't
they'll
have to
be
bid on it.
aware that it's for sale.
They just got to be made aware that it is in fact available.
Are you limiting it just to Goldsboro, or are you saying
All of the above. Anything that the city or the county owns
with some?
jointly property with somebody, yes, sir.
All right, will you modify your motion
Yes,
to include all,
to include all of the municipalities that share property with the county.
Or jointly owned by the county, yeah.
must notify the adjoining property owners?
Must, yeah, thank you.
Okay, you got that? All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. It was unanimous. Okay. That concludes everything that was on the agenda. So the county manager's report.
Okay. So I met with Withers and Ravenall, which is our engineer on the Genoa water system study that we're looking at. They're prepared to come in. We also asked them to look at a regional solution for sewer. And they're prepared to come back here in 3 to 4 weeks. They'll have that project completed and it'll be back to present to our facilities committee. So we'll let you know when that occurs. Expansion of broadband, as you know, we applied for 3 great grant applications. We were denied all 3 of those. We're also update on our grant writer process. We have closed the application process for the individual job, but we also have a RFP for consulting services for grant writers that's still open. We won't be making any decision on either way until that process is complete. So about 3 more weeks of that, and then we'll proceed with trying to find a solution for that avenue. And that's all I have, sir, for today. Unless you have any questions.
I do have a question in regards to broadband. We have kicked this thing around and kicked it around, and it does not look like that Wayne County is going to receive any great grant funding for broadband. Yet we still have underserved areas. I would ask that we ask our county manager to go ahead and make a recommendation on an alternative of possibly using our ARP funds in order to expand broadband here in Wayne County, because all we're doing is just kicking this can down the road. They're not going to give Wayne County a great grant, evidently. But yet we still have need. So would you please look through that and give us, at our next meeting, which will be the third week of September, some recommendation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Board of Commissioners Committee reports and comments. Commissioner Foster.
No comment.
Mr. Barbara Ncacc.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to thank Ms. Bowden and Ms. Whitley for the great job to ensure our trip to Concord was successful, and all the hard work that they done to get everything lined up for us, and enjoyed the conference. It was really informative. And also, I'd like to keep our law enforcement family out front and in our prayers. It just seems that there's one casualty after another, not only in our county, but other counties. And we're going through a stressful time right now with our law enforcement and their families, and I'd like to keep them in our prayers, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Williams.
No comment.
Mr. Hardison.
Yes, COVID is still with us, folks. It's not going away. At the hospital right now, we're seeing a 19.4% patient positivity rate. So whenever you go into the hospital for a test, they do test you for COVID, and it is still active. And it's estimated that we'll be at the peak for the next 4 to 5 weeks. And Mr. Chair, as appointment committee chair, I'd like to ask that the citizens of Wayne County take a look at the boards and commissions that we have available, and if you feel qualified, please put in an application. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Gurley.
Yes, sir. As Commissioner Ncacc alluded to, we want to keep our law enforcement family, as well as our first responders, in our thoughts and prayers. Also, I want to publicly thank a few people and businesses for donating to Sergeant Fishman's funeral, Triangle Atlantic for donating the casket, Steve Velker and his team at Arnold Wilbert for donating the fault and the overlay that he did, Waymore Park for the plots, burial plots, and opening and closing, Seeger's Fence Company, Jamie and his crew at Seeger's Fence Company for opening the fence up at the fairgrounds so to allow people to go through and going back and taking care of it. I want to thank them for donating that to the family. That means a lot, and we have a and there's more that has donated things that I'm not aware of, but those that I just mentioned, I am, and we're blessed to live in a community that we have businesses and individuals that come to the rescue when people are in need. Also, the Wake County deputy that was killed, the Sheriff's Association has issued a $100,000 reward to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible for that. So if you know anything, please alert the Wake County Sheriff Department or Crime Stoppers in that area. Also, remember Sheriff Pierce, he's had a whole lot on top of him in the last several weeks. And that's when he's with his mother right now, and that's the reason he's not here today. So keep him in your thoughts and prayers. Thanks, sir.
Vice Chairman Ncacc.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Most of what has already been said. I did attend the legislative breakfast and had a great turnout. Thank Representative Bell and Smith for participating in that breakfast. Also was mentioned about the County Commissioners Conference that we just had in Concord. I thought overall it was pretty good conference. A few of the topics I don't think really pertain to us a whole lot, but some of them did. I had the pleasure to attend the Emergency Management Conference on Thursday. It lasted all day, and I've been going to conferences now for 10 years, and that was one of the best programs that I've ever participated in. Had some well-qualified people teaching. Really picked up on some good things that when we have natural disasters and all man-made or otherwise, but real good program. And also has been mentioned, Commissioner Gurley and others have mentioned our law enforcement family. There's been 6 or 7 deputies either passed away in the line of duty or been shot all over the state in just the last few weeks. That's unacceptable. And to be perfectly frankly, I'm mad about it. I mean, I don't think anyone has the answers, but these men and women, they lay their lives on the line for us every day. And it just seems that, this generation, they have no value for life. I certainly don't have the answer, but like I said, I'm mad about it, and I feel quite sure that a lot of other people are. And not only our law enforcement, our first responders sometimes are faced with the same situation. Just keep all of our first responders in prayers, when we do have something that, like Sergeant Fishman's instance. It's just amazing the way all of the organizations pull together and look after each other, regardless of You just don't look at, you don't look at departments, you don't look at race, you don't look at gender. I mean, it's amazing how everything comes together. And when it does come together like that, my question is, why can't it be like that all the time? That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I have a few things. First thing, I want to do a shout out to Mrs. Mamie Lofton on Arrington Bridge Road. She's celebrating her 100th birthday, and we're sending her a letter congratulating her on her longevity and 100 years. 100 years. Additionally, I want to give a shout out to Greg Batts. He was sworn in last night at the Goldsboro City Council meeting for District 6. That's a great addition to that board. When I went to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, I heard from the state treasurer, and he is doing a great job. I mean, really is. But one of the things that I saw him get up and talk about was Ncacc.com. And we laugh about that, but I went and did a search and got a check for $312 from Ncacc.com on an account that I had no idea that had been closed out. But needless to say, he's encouraging everyone to do it. Just to go to Ncacc.com, put your name in there, and see whether or not you've got some unclaimed dollars that they'll be glad to send you a check for.
So you gonna take us out to eat on that?
No, I spent that $300. However, one of the interesting things was this. He said, make sure your county checks that out, because cities and counties have unclaimed dollars as well. So, Allison, there's your job for this afternoon.
We've already applied for ours.
Have you really?
We have.
Did you really find some?
We did.
Ncacc.com. Before I even bring you greetings from him. But that's great. Okay. Anything else for our board?
Nothing further, sir.
All right. We entertain a motion to go into closed session. For the purpose of?
Same reason you went in before.
Same reasons. Okay. I beg your pardon?
I couldn't tell who made the motion.
Okay. All right, we got a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All right, we are in closed session. Okay, we are out of closed session. And being no further business of the board, we are adjourned.
Let's go.